When you think of Battlefront 2, you're thinking of one of two things. This.
For the Republic! Oh my god!
I'm joking! Stop!
Or this. I know. It's a very touchy subject for many people, but what if I told you this game is actually really good? In fact, the new Battlefront 2 is one of my favorite Star Wars games ever made, and it blows the old one out of the water. I know you all have your Knights of the Old Republic, Jedi Fallen Order, The Force Unleashed, Star Wars Connect, but you're just going to have to hear me out on this one. This game is really good and surprisingly alive and thriving for an 8-year-old game. Most games released now struggle to find matches in 10 minutes, but this game loads up in 10 seconds and throws you straight into the action. And if you've never touched this game, I will say that starting from scratch in 2025 is hard. However, the grind is 100% worth it. But before any of that, let's get into why this game is so awesome and go back to the time when it was the complete opposite, when this game was first released in 2017. Did you ever hear the tragedy of Battlefront 2 2017? Nah. Picture this. You're a 12-year-old kid on his mom's computer watching your favorite YouTube video, and all of a sudden you see this trailer.
Always! We're coming up on the Star Destroyer, but we need to...
Your dopamine and hype goes past the healthy levels. You beg your mother to buy it for you for Christmas. Then, on that fateful morning of December 25th, you receive the gift you dreamed of and boot it up for the first time. You're happy, thrilled, excited, and you can't wait to play. When you load in, you're greeted with a lot of extra money that's required to be spent. Yeah, this game was very bad on the day of release. People did math that added up to how many hours you'd have to grind out one hero, and it was not very good. To my utter horror, EA had truly been destroyed by the dark side.
Until now you have become the very thing you swore to destroy.
Don't lecture me, Obi-Wan.
Basically, you'd be grinding out a whole Destiny player's purgatory sentence in order to get a single hero to unlock. All covered by the cloak of, but it would be rewarding for the player. No, it's going to piss the player off to grind out an entire month. But no greater anger came from the players that was compared to the loot boxes. I already covered this topic in my modern gaming video, but to summarize, this game was not a Star Wars action multiplayer. It was a slot machine. And unfortunately, this slot machine made a casino look like a generous charity. Every star card, weapon upgrade, skin, customizable, was locked behind the loot boxes of this game and an unreasonable price tag. And not only that, but you were able to get duplicates, so there wasn't even a guarantee you would get new items. And not only that, but the story was an absolute mess that everyone forgets this game has. That's how this game started on day one. But how did this go to this? Well, for starters, after the extremely negative feedback from the community on the day of release, EA immediately did a 180 and said, okay, maybe people don't want to give us their whole wallets. You might call me a sociopath for this, but personally, I don't like wasting my 401k and all my Dogecoin stocks into a Star Wars game. Over the course of 5 months of backlash, the loot boxes were removed from the game. The community was grateful, but we did not forget what they did. However, EA decided to make their mistakes right and invest in this game because despite the hate for this game, the player base remained consistent. So they decided to continue supporting the game, and with it came many more updates that improved upon it. The HUD was redesigned, the weapons were reworked and balanced, the star cards weren't impossible to get now, and it was much more new player friendly. With the release of each new Star Wars movie came new maps and content, which made the game always evolving and improving. The developers were also looking into adding Ahsoka and Ventress as upcoming heroes. Things were looking up for this game. However, like all good things, this era of Battlefront ended as quickly as it started. With the release of Battlefield 2049 and the dire attention that game needed to fix its bugs and glitches, EA was at a crossroads. Fix the game they released too early. I'm noticing a pattern here with EA's releases. Or continue supporting Battlefront 2. They had two huge communities to please, and with the work they needed to put into the new Battlefield, it was a very heavy decision. The numbers added up to invest in their new games, and unfortunately EA, as per usual, followed the route that would lead them to the most money, and they cut support to Battlefront for good. With that, the age of Battlefront 2 came to an end, and the final update fixed minor bugs to leave us with the game we have today. So, with that summary of how Battlefront got to where it is today, now let's talk about the state of the game in 2025, almost 8 years later. Let's start with the story mode of the game. Nothing changed. It's still garbage. Alright, now, onto the multiplayer. It's still alive as ever, and is one of the most fun Star Wars games you can buy today. Alright, the video's over. Everyone have a nice day. Seriously, have a nice day. Nice talking to y'all. Okay, but seriously, this game is still alive and well. It's nice to see a community still dedicated to a game as old as Battlefront 2, but the game is so fun that the community stayed true to it even after EA cut support for it. It shows also what this game's potential was if the updates were still coming out. We could have had a Super Smash Bros. Star Wars game where everyone is here, but with the characters we've got, I think it's safe to say I'm happy with the game that was produced. We have Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's already a perfect game, but not only is Obi-Wan here, but we have a whole game on top of that. What more could I ask for? The maps they added, like Geonosis, Scarif, Felucia, the Ewok Hunt, Endor, all played a part in keeping the game fresh and active, with each game being unique in its experience. Classes all play a huge part in keeping the game interesting as well. If one class is struggling too much in a match, switch up your strategy and keep pushing those objectives. While the weapons are a bit of a hassle to get, it is nowhere near the grind it used to be. Also, with the game having the epic gameplay loop that makes you feel like you're in a war against the separatist Clankas, it doesn't get boring trying to get these new weapons. The game keeps things balanced as well by adding bots to matches to make sure you aren't falling behind too much in points, because as you may realize, there are some pretty sweaty players in this game who need to go outside and touch some grass.
Holy crap! Donald Trump!
The minor classes are also still a blast to play as well. The Enforcer, Jet Trooper, and Infiltrator all have their own unique perks that everyone can try out and enjoy. I personally love playing as the ARC Trooper and Commando droids. It's just so fun to team up with Anakin or Grievous and dominate the front lines with them. Every time I see an Anakin player and I am playing as the ARC Trooper, it looks like a scene out of the Clone Wars with Rex and Anakin committing their daily war crimes. Or when I'm playing the Empire, charging in as Vader with the Death Troopers assisting you just hits different. There really is nothing like space racism. But aside from the game being so fun, the atmosphere and graphics of this game were seriously ahead of its time. This game looks like you're in a literal Clone Wars episode, and I love it. In my opinion, this is the best looking Star Wars game made so far. The maps are also really well designed while being faithful to the feel and look of the movies they originated in. There's little Easter eggs hidden in each map as well for some iconic moments of the series. It immerses you in the universe without distracting you from the battle you have in each match. For example, on the Felucia map, the huts from the show in Season 2 of the Clone Wars is an interactable building you can go inside and camp in, even though it's dishonorable. Or on the Death Star map, you could see the Emperor's ship in the hangar. It's minor details like this that make the map so cool to play in. While it would have been nice to see an Umbara map or a Coruscant map added eventually, what we have works just fine in the finished game. Onto the game modes. This current moment, the most active game modes are Hero Battles, Supremacy, and Galactic Assault, with the minor touch of Ewok Hunt. Unfortunately, due to this being an 8-year-old game, some game modes that you might like, such as Starfighter Battles, if you're one of the 3 people who like that game mode, or Blast, are not available very often. However, the main attraction of this game being the huge scale battles and moments from the movies are still very alive and not showing signs of dying anytime soon. I still enjoy playing this game a few times per month because not only does the childhood nostalgia hit me like a wave and make me want to go back and rewatch the movies, but the game still is fun to play as an adult as well. The game also has some pretty funny moments from time to time. Again, they did not fully polish this game, so part of the charm is some janky moments in the game from time to time. Remember, glitches are not a problem unless they are not funny. The only other thing missing from this game was crossplay. If we were not limited to individual segregation camps known as different consoles, this game would never die. But unfortunately, it looks like the Star Wars community is divided once again. I know I didn't mention this as well, but the community is really involved in the game. Today is February 21st, and the community decided to relive the magic by having the servers flooded and people playing to show the developers we still care for the game and want to see the updates that were cancelled after Battlefield was released. This game also gave me the idea to make this video because I still care about this game and want it to succeed and possibly get support again, perchance. The game also made a name for itself and literally started from the mud and worked its way to the top of the food chain in Star Wars games. As fun as the old Battlefront games were, in my personal opinion, this game wins in almost every category. It feels so weird that twice this series has been released and twice we were robbed of Battlefront 3. Is Battlefront 3 just too good of an idea that we're not allowed to win in this universe? Maybe in another timeline our canon event will be averted, but most likely not in this one. I wish EA was capable of making good decisions, but unfortunately they turned to the dark side a long time ago. To end on a high note, this game is not going anywhere anytime soon. The servers are still alive and the community is having a blast this week, so if you want to relive the experience of Battlefront 2 with a fully polished, mostly polished game, and hop on and enjoy yourself. This game improved in almost every way. The classes are enjoyable, the heroes are diverse and still incredible to play as, and the maps are still nostalgic and alive to this day. Relive your childhood and hop back in the fight and join the Battlefront once more.